Yo, what's up, guys? Why Not Be Reckless, aka Why Not Be Casting. I'm one of the HCS commentators, and we have another HCS Weekly Report where today we're going to be talking about the newest partnered team, and that's going to be Quadrant. We've been talking about the HCS partnership program for so long, and we finally know who the first team going to be coming into the program. It's going to be Quadrant, one of the best teams in Europe, formerly the second best team. I think Navi have a little something to say about that. Now, let's talk a little bit about Quadrant and a little bit about the HCS partnership program to begin with. So teams are going to be partnered with HCS and going to receive not special treatment as far as on a competitive standpoint. You know, you have no competitive advantage when becoming an HCS partner team. So yeah, you start to go through, the open bracket. If you don't qualify for pool play, if you're in pool play, you don't get any kind of extra points, no extra rewards. You still have to grind. And Quadrant finding out the hard way because they had a gauntlet going into the major in Orlando. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on. We're also going to talk about the who, whys, what's, and how we got here when it comes to Quadrant. Starting off a little bit here, we're gonna let's watch one of the best clips that we've seen so far in HCS here at Halo Infinite, because it was absolutely incredible, and of course it was none other than Quadrant that were a part of it.
On their own, they will just jump on you, and that team shot is so difficult to play against, and Chick may be starting to heat up.
Oh! Chick! Wobbling them wings, it's an overkill!
That's the Chick that we've seen throughout the European Super. That's why he's taken the plaudits of this Quadrant roster. It was all SLG back in the day, but Chick has got better and better and is one of the best players in Europe right now. And that's exactly what Quadrant needed. Triple kill on the other side for SLG.
Oh, another overkill!
Happening! On their own, they will just jump on you, and that team.
That was crazy. Back-to-back overkills by Quadrant to Chick with the nasty overkill with that sniper rifle, and then for them to identify those spawns and SLG to come in and finish off G1 literally right off a spawn. Back-to-back overkills. Quadrant were putting G1 in a blender, and mind you, they were down 0-1 in the series, so this was a very important game number 2. Quadrant showing what they were made of. So you guys are probably wondering, who are Quadrant? I know a lot of us in North America aren't too familiar with them. Let's talk a little bit about Quadrant. So I know Quadrant started off as a content creation team, but they always expressed interest in actually competing and going along and competing alongside, the G2s and the Sentinels and some of the best in the world across multiple esports. And they started off with their first team in Halo. I believe now they have a couple Warzone professional players signed as well, but their first competitive team that they signed was Halo, which is absolutely was absolutely amazing. And we're going to talk a little bit more about their team going further, but they're owned by British Formula 1 driver Lando Norris. I don't know too much about F1 racing myself, but from what I hear, it has a decent sized audience here in North America, and it is huge overseas. And Lando Norris is probably the second most popular player or driver, within the actual sport, and having a huge younger audience, and also being able to promote Quadrant as far as esports and a lifestyle brand on their on a weekly basis. I think it's really important. I think you're going to see a lot of crossover between Formula 1 and Halo, especially on the competitive side, because Lando, he's out there. He's making content. I was looking at the Quadrant page, I was scrolling down, and you just see content after content Halo related with that really cool helmet that they're selling now. It's really cool to see. So you have a gaming and lifestyle brand. So that's gonna be love for gaming and lifestyle. They're focused on entertaining fans and building one of the biggest communities through gaming and content in esports. And I love this quote right here. This is just purely and 100% me. What I like to wear, what I can represent. I think that's really important to me. So when it comes to Halo merch, some of it is kind of like, okay, like it's a little nerdy and whatnot. I like my merch to be wearable. I like my stuff. I want to be able to go outside and not just, this is Halo. Like, no, this actually looks good. It fits good. It's premium quality. It seems like Quadrant are doing all the right things as far as, in my eye, as far as becoming a newer esports and really coming into the scene. And again, that crossover from Formula 1, from what I hear, Lando Norris on almost a weekly basis is promoting Quadrant, and to bring his 2.1 million followers to kind of dive into Halo and actively be searching up Halo, I think is going to be really important. And one of the reasons why I imagine they were partnered, I believe it was Tashi talked about almost like a you scratch our back, we scratch yours. Like it's not so much of what can we do for you, but more of what can we do for each other. And I think Lando Norris's platform and his style of content works really well for Halo and getting eyes on Halo. So I'm excited to see this. I'm excited to now pay attention to Formula One, because again, it goes back and forth. Now I want to see what Formula One's all about. I've never watched a Formula One race in my life, but I promise the next one that comes up, I'm going to go check it out, and I'm going to be rooting for my man, Lando Norris. If you support Halo, I support you. Also want to talk a little about Quadrant as a team and where they started and where they are now, because I think there's no way we can talk about Quadrant getting partnered without talking about the results that we've seen so far in the HCS. HCS Raleigh, Quadrant came out big, a top 12 finish, which I thought was really good. Remember, previously, the highest placing for an international team, not just a European, but an international team, was top 6. Top 12, not that far behind. You know, you're talking about a couple of big wins, a couple of big upsets, and you're right there. Great job for Quadrant starting off the year. Going into the European Super, I will say, third place is probably not exactly where they wanted to be. Quadrant have an expectation of themselves to be grand finals or bust when it comes to European events. You know, when it comes to North America, obviously it'd be really tough to make a grand finals. You have some pretty stacked team. When it comes to European expectations, it's really grand finals or bust. So even though third place I think is absolutely amazing, I think, you know, there's nothing to be upset about for getting third place. As far as within themselves, I'm sure they probably were expecting to do better, maybe at least second place and maybe even winning it out. Either way, I'm thinking third place isn't that bad. I'm not going to beat you up over it. Going into Kansas City, I'm definitely not going to beat you up over it, because in top 8 finish by Quadrant, that was huge, and that was really what put Quadrant on the map. Like that tournament was absolutely incredible. People were like, hold on, this team is the real deal. Not only are they the second best team in Europe, but they can come in and actually really contend and really pull off upsets when it comes to coming over to North American talent. You saw them beat out G1 in the Game 5. You've heard the likes of even Sentinels and Optics showing actual, like, real respect to Ascendant Quadrant and the way they actually played the game. This was big. Getting top 8 in Kansas City was more than it was huge for Quadrant. Going into Valencia, I want to say they took Ascend to a Game 7 in the first best of 7 series, but Ascend ended up winning that out. So we didn't see. I don't believe we saw a bracket reset, but we did see them kind of meet expectations, at least getting into that grand finals. Like we said, grand finals or bust when it comes to Quadrant Gaming, and they were able to be really competitive when it comes to Ascend, and I think that's really important. Then I don't know what happened. I'll be honest with you. Going into the E United Grunt Classic qualifier, they played against Shopify Rebellion. And I believe Shopify Rebellion was able to 3-0 them. And mind you, Quadrant were already here in North America. They were here in Orlando. I don't know if they were under the best environment as far as connection-wise or where they were playing, and maybe if that has something to do with it. All I know is that Shopify Rebellion were boot camping together, and so were Quadrant. And that's a team that Quadrant is expected to beat out. Not to say anything bad about Shopify Rebellion. Shopify Rebellion are fantastic. And I thought they were getting better and better. Honestly, they're one of my dark horse teams to make it out of open bracket and make it into pool play, or at least into lower bracket play. But Quadrant were also one of the dark horse teams to make it into top 8 and top 6 to replicate the same success that we saw in Kansas City. And we didn't see that in the United Grunt Classic. But then we said to ourselves, you know what? Online gameplay. Lots of things happen online. You know, there's teams that step it up on land. There's obviously variables that you can't account for. Online gameplay, we'll chalk it up. We're judging Quadrant when it comes to land, when it matters most. We get into land, top 20 finish. Talk a little about the story that came in. We talked a little bit about it yesterday. We'll touch on it again. Quadrant in Pool B. And I will say, this was the most competitive pool. Pool B legitimately was the most competitive pool out of all of them, because you could have made a good argument for any one of these teams to make it out, and make it out on top, and make it through that winners bracket and championship Sunday. Quadrant, they secured themselves a second place finish on day, I believe it was on Friday, but going into Saturday, it's when the open bracket teams then joined in onto pool play and then had their shot. They had one match against everybody into pool play and had the opportunity to upset Quadrant, and that's exactly what they did. Quadrant ended 3-0 in Central Negra. No surprise there. 0-3 versus G1. Would have liked to see them get at least one win, especially because Quadrant was able to beat them in Game 5 in Kansas City. That was a bit of a surprise there, and that's going to be important because when you go into Native Red, yes, you got the win, but Native Red were able to hand you 2 losses. Very important, because when we go into that open bracket team in Oxygen Esports, Oxygen beat you in 4. So when it came to map count, Oxygen beat you by 1 map. Oxygen would want to end up making it through in that second place finish, upsetting Quadrant. They beat out Native Red already. They were already in second place going into Saturday. All they had to do was look like the team we thought they were, going up against the open bracket team. Like, hey, you're in pool play. You got to play bully ball. That team comes in from open bracket, you bullied them. You showed them that we belong here. We earned our spot. You had to go through the gauntlet for a reason. You have to bully them. And Quadrant got bullied by Oxygen Esports. When I was talking to Onset and Gaskin about the European teams going into Orlando, I'm not quoting him, but he kind of alluded to them playing up to their competition. You know, when they're going up against the Sensitos and Optics and Uniteds and all the top competition, they step their game up because they really feel like they belong there. But when it comes to playing against, you know, some of the other teams, you know, that are fighting for top 16, top 12, top 8, they tend to play down to their competition, and they almost feel like they almost mentally look past them, even though you have to be in the moment. You got to take it one game at a time. Like I said, I'm not quoting him exactly, but that was kind of what he had alluded to. Quadrant having a tough time because of that. Oxygen started off in the winners bracket round 1. Quadrant started off in the elimination bracket, and right off the rip, they run into a red hot Team War. Dude, Team War were freaking on one. And that passion that they had, they were hyping up the crowd. The crowd was on their side. Quadrant able to take War to Game 5, but weren't able to get out with the win. And eventually, Quadrant ended up being knocked out of the tournament a lot earlier than expected. This was not the Quadrant we expected to see. Same for Ascend too. You're now a part of the organization. And if expectations weren't already high for Quadrant to begin with, they're even higher now. Partner. And again, it doesn't give you any kind of competitive advantage going into the HCS season. However, let's be honest, we look at our partner teams a little bit differently than we look at some of the other ones. And that, I mean, is that their fault? No, but it's the reality of things. I really like Quadrant. I think their teamwork is incredible. I think they have this pop off potential. They don't play to your gameplay. They know what it takes to win. Their gameplay is good fundamental Halo. It's game winning Halo. All it has to do is by execution. When you come to these events, you got to show off. You got to show out. Quadrant aren't guaranteed to go to Worlds, but I believe they have an opportunity to qualify and to make it through the play-in, and to make it through some way somehow. So I would not be surprised if we see Quadrant on land. But I will say, I will be surprised if they put up another performance like they did in Orlando, especially as the newest partnered organization for the HCS. Again, want to make sure that we end this in a great note, because Quadrant, they seem like a great org. They're doing everything right. Lifestyle, content, and apparel. If you guys go in and follow Lando Norris. Go in and get some Quadrant merch, especially this freaking helmet. This helmet is sick. Like legitimately, we've been talking. Like, Quadrant legitimately have a decent social game, decent content. I'm loving what I'm seeing right now out of them. Go ahead and drop them a follow. Oh, go ahead and drop them a follow. Drop them some support, and make sure you catch the next F1 Formula Racing. I'm Why Not Be Reckless, aka Wanna Be Casting, one of the HCS commentators, do YouTube content, Twitch content like you guys are watching right now. Make sure you use code YNOT for G Fuel and all that other shilling stuff that creators do. You know, give me your money. Give me your money. I don't know. All right, guys. Peace.